What is up, YouTube? Just left my local vape shop. Just got a new mod today for any of these guys that vape. Got the Nano 120 Steampunk by Tesla. Pretty cool looking mod so far. Pretty good experience with it. I only took a couple hundred pulls off of it, but I was looking to see if I could find a tank that had decent performance and kind of matched the color. I got the copper one. So I was looking at the Yule Crown 2. Looks like a pretty good tank. Reviews were pretty good on it. There's some hit or miss. It sound like earlier versions of coils used to burn out really quick, so not real sure on it. Didn't pull the trigger yet. I was going to do a little more research. Check YouTube, see what's out there. So, what we're going to do tonight, fellas, is do a little nighttime ride. I try to find a decently lit parking lot and give you my initial review on the 2016 Street Bob here. So now I still own one and I'm going to do one. Unfortunately, it's going to be post bike, so I'll probably throw on a few pictures of it and then just do kind of a voiceover review of the Road Glide special that I traded in. But for now, we're going to do the initial review on the Street Bob. I've got just over 500 miles on it, so I've taken it through enough twisties, commutes to work, etc. Had it on the interstate highway, but I kind of want to go through that with you guys. So we'll do a walk around while we're riding. I'll kind of talk through my thoughts on it so far. Of the motorcycles that I've owned, this is my fourth one now. This one is by far the funnest to ride. What's nice about the Street Bob in particular is it has same engine, same transmission as the rest of the Harley touring lineup, but you're looking at about 300 to 400 pounds lighter than a touring bike. So needless to say, it's a lot more flickable, has a lot more torque and power actually going to the back wheel. The Dynas have a narrower tire in the front, and I would say about the same, a little bit narrower in the back, but really narrow in the front. And I wasn't sure at first how that would be on handling. It seems to honestly handle quite a bit better. The narrow front tire just seems like it digs into the corners a little easier. Now that being said, I think if you were, running over an object or something of that nature, it's probably going to be a bit worse. So probably depends on the application, right? But the handling on this bike has been amazing. I've had no problems with it. The scratch bike itself, I've done quite a bit of mods, which you'll see when we get to our destination and I do a walk around. The initial setup on it comes with mini apes. They're like a 12-inch mini ape. They're not a bad bar. They handle okay. I just don't like the look of a standard rounded ape, and I've always liked the look of the chiseled handlebars. Plus, chiseled in the same height is going to be a little bit taller, and if you push them forward, even taller than that. So overall, it's just a better look for me. I like it better, so I switched the bars. The one thing I noticed right away, the improvement in the handling, was something about those bars being straight up, the chiseled bars. You get almost a feel like you do with a drag bar or with T-bars, where the handling just has so much more precise control, with those being in line with your forks on the tree there. It's I don't know what it is, but it definitely, it feels like there's a significant difference in my opinion. So I didn't care for the stock bars. I swapped those out. I love the seating position. I love the arm position of even the stock bars on it. I mean, if you had to wait a while before you upgraded the bars, you would have absolutely no complaints with it. I'm between 6'1", 6'2", and a 12-inch bar to me is about perfect. It puts me a little lower than my shoulders. I could go with a 14-inch bar. I don't think I would go any higher than that because I don't want to be above my shoulders. I'd like to be at or slightly below. This has been a very comfortable riding position for me at 12. I thought about rolling them forward a little bit to give me about another inch of height. It'd be about a 13. They come stock with mid controls. I absolutely despise mid controls. I think in part because of my height. If you're a shorter rider, I would say an average rider, 5'10" and below, mids might be alright for you. They might be comfortable for you, or if that's what you're used to, you might dig them. But for me, being taller, I love forward controls. So I swapped out the standard mid controls with not just the normal Harley forward controls. I used the Harley forward controls and added the Harley mini floorboard. So it's pretty much like built-in highway pegs. As you can see, it puts a pretty comfortable position on my foot. These things feel amazing. Like your feet sit perfectly flat on them. You get no leg fatigue whatsoever. And my legs are just at a perfect, comfortable position. So I didn't dig the mid controls, so initial setup to me, that's the first thing that absolutely had to go. I let the dealer do it. That was the one thing I didn't want to tangle with myself, just because you have to remove the primary and get into a lot of that shit, and I just wasn't in the mood to do it. The overall ride of the bike, like I said, has great handling. I'm impressed with the power delivery. The ride leaves a little something to be desired. Not bad, but the only thing I would say is that if it had slightly more travel or a little bit better bump absorption, you guys probably noticed in my videos, my first video sucked, by the way, the mic was terrible. They're getting a little better, but again, give me your feedback. But the one thing you notice, my voice vibrates a lot, and that's not, I'm not a nervous Nelly talking. This thing has just enough play in the shock. It's a comfortable ride, but when you're talking, that's when you notice how much vibration you're actually getting to the seat from that rear shock. So it's not bad by any means. Trust me, it's comfortable. I've been on probably 150 mile trek has been my longest so far, and I was legit completely comfortable. But I would like a little bit more give to eliminate that kind of hardtail feel, that vibration. But overall, I do like feeling more of the road than you do with a touring bike. You can't go wrong with a touring bike for on the highway, because if you're cruising the interstate or you're on a super long ride, there is nothing better than having a big windscreen in front of you, having a comfortable bike, lots of shock travel, lots of seat room, padding. But these are just so raw, and to me, truly what a Harley is. And they feel amazing. I love the feel of Dynas and Softails. I love them both. It's always been my favorite. I bought the touring bike because we intended to ride a lot more together. It just circumstances worked out where we're not able to. So it was actually my wife's idea to trade this in for the, or trade the touring bike in for the Softail. Or Dyna, I'm sorry. So ride, I think, again, leaves a little bit to be desired, but by no means horrible. And I'm a bigger guy. I'm about 245, 250 pounds, 6'2". So a lot of you may not have this issue. If you're, on the lighter side of that, you may not feel that same vibration. I haven't looked into the adjustability of the shocks yet. If there may be a preload adjustment that'll fix this issue, but at least with the stock setup for me, it's a little bit brisk. I would probably look to upgrade in the future to a progressive shock to give me a little bit better ride. The fuel consumption appears to be good. I'm having one issue, which it turns out is probably not a warrantable issue, and it turns out it's probably common to this bike. A friend of mine bought a Wide Glide a year ago, and he has the exact same issue because I was talking to him about it today. So what the issue is this is a slightly over a 5-gallon tank. I need to verify that spec, but the dealer told me it should have been the same size as my road gun. It's like 5.2. When this bike shows empty or near empty, when it's in pretty deep in the orange, got about 30-mile range left on it, if I take it and fill it up, and I mean pulling it out to the edge and milking that thing every last drop, the most I can get into it is 3 gallons even, and that's like literally bringing it all the way up to the top and running it almost dry. And even when you do that, the tank shows slightly under full. It never hits that full mark on the fuel gauge. So I think there's an issue there with, you know, what it shows as a full tank and when it shows empty. I think it's giving you way less capacity there than what you actually have in your tank, which I guess is not bad as a, you know, as a warning sign, or to, if you're a guy that tries to stretch it out a little bit, but not to the tune of 2 gallons. You know, that's damn near half of the fuel tank capacity. So I don't care for that. I may ask the dealer about it. Maybe it's a known issue with a fuel sender or the fuel gauge or something that, you know, is fixable, but I don't care for that. It gives you an inaccurate reading. I feel like I could easily go another 100 miles when I'm at rock bottom. So the overall fit and finish of the bike has been really good so far. I've been impressed with, now when they did my forward controls, they swapped out the primary fluid, obviously, and they put their formula primary fluid in it. Shifting is extremely smooth in this bike, but it was even with the original fluid. It's honestly a little bit smoother than the touring bike. It's a little less clunk to it. But overall, very good transmission, very good power. I've had no issues there. The headlight switch, and this is an odd one. I'm trying to give you guys a thorough, honest review here. So the headlight switch, we switch from high beam to low beam. I ride with my high beams on 24/7 during the day, and most of the time at night, as long as traffic's not on me or anything. It's a little soft, and I had it once actually pop off of the high beam back into low beam, because it's like there's not a deep enough toggle upward on it. But that's a minor thing. And the self-canceling turn signals don't seem to be quite as sensitive as they were on my touring bike, meaning if I need a little bit deeper lean angle on this one to get them to cancel than I did on my touring bike. And that's a minor annoyance, you know what I mean? I've ridden bikes without self-canceling. I do love self-canceling turn signals, so comparing that to bikes that I've had in the past, that's such a breeze. You never worry about leaving your turn signal on. It's just nice to have. And I've always liked Harley's setup of left is on the left side and right is on the right side. It feels better to me. It's more intuitive. I swapped out the stock headlight. Sucks balls, by the way. If you have the money or close to the money at all, swap that thing out for a Daymaker, some kind of LED. Stock headlights, single bulb. I think it's a 6-inch bulb, but it's absolute garbage at night. And I knew that going into it. I didn't even bother like trying to test ride it, feel it out at night, and see if I could make it work. I just swapped it out right from the get-go because I knew it was going to suck. I could tell just turning it on and looking at it during the daylight. So swap out the headlight, plan on doing that. It will not be good visibility at night for sure. So I put the Harley branded Daymaker on here, and so far I'm pretty happy with it. Very good on low beam, which is what we're at now. You can see it's lighting up that van pretty good. On high beams, excellent. So fit and finish, any other issues? Everything's been good. Seat quality's been good. The stock tires are a Michelin Scorcher tire. By no means, I don't think the top of the line there, usually Commander 2 is probably about the best Michelin tire, but I've had absolutely no issues with the stock tires. I'm pretty happy with them so far. It took me a little bit of getting used to. Obviously, you don't get as many toys when you get a Dyna, expected. So your speedometer here, you'll notice has right now it shows my gear and my RPM. But you have a toggle switch here, so you could switch between. There's your odometer. You got trip A, trip B, your range, so showing you what should be left in your fuel tank, but obviously I told you this bike's a liar. And then a clock, and then your last option is the gear and RPM, which is usually what I leave it on. I can ride this bike fine, just feeling out the RPM. I know when I need to shift. I don't need that. It's just nice to have. It's a nice convenience feature. So, if I had a choice, I would prefer, obviously, a separate RPM gauge on it. That would be a preference for me. But again, it's not a necessity. It's not something I can't live without. And there is something I like legitimately about, like I said, how raw a Dyna feels compared to other Harleys. You know, the road sofas are great, and like I said, there's nothing better for touring and the like, but that's not what I'm doing most of the time when I'm riding. Most of my time I'm riding is this type of shit. I'm commuting to and from work, and I am out putzing around doing different shit. So, pulled up in a Target parking lot here. I'm going to step off this thing and give you kind of the walk around. We'll go through some of what I did to the bike so far. Alright, so here's the Street Bob, if you guys haven't seen yet. It was completely stock Street Bob other than premium paint. So this is the olive gold. It's been my favorite color. Came out a couple years ago. And it's on quite a bit of the models now. I absolutely love it. It's my favorite color by far. So we talked about the bike overall, what I think of it initially. Now I'll do a more thorough review and actually write out pros and cons when we get to probably 1,000 and 5,000 mile. But for now, I'll kind of walk through updates I've done to it. Bars, like I said, I swapped out the 12-inch standard handlebar for the chiseled Harley bar. Again, that's a 12-inch, and right now it's pretty much in line with the tree. I could get probably another inch off if I roll them forward a little bit more. I swapped out the mid controls, which would normally sit right in here, for the Harley forward controls with the mini floorboards. Air cleaner is the big sucker with the standard big sucker cover is just a black cover, plain. I swapped that out for the dark customs cover. Vance & Hines short shot pipes, and then I use the Vance & Hines Fuel Pack 3 for a tuner, and that's pretty stock setup. You can reprogram the ECM on the bike in about a minute and a half for the new pipes and the new air cleaner. Shocks are probably something that's going to go. I haven't swapped those out yet. In the front and rear, I swapped out the lights for Custom Dynamics LEDs. I absolutely love these things. I have for a long time. As you can see, I'm standing off to the side so I don't kill the camera with brightness, but they're bullet style rings, so those are on all the time. And when you turn on the turn signals, they go amber. And then back to white when you cancel them. And I swapped out for the Harley Daymaker LED, which again I absolutely love. The back is just solid red LEDs, and then when you hit the brake it's just more intense. The hand grips got swapped out with the bars pretty much for free. Basically they didn't want to cut off the grip on the easiest way to get the grip off the old handlebar is to cut it off. It sounded like was almost impossible for them to get the stock grip off to put on the new bar. So these are the Harley Get a Grip grips. They come in the black or chrome. Obviously I went with the black. Very good grip so far, my experience. They got a lot of little knobbies on them, so they're a lot grippier than the standard one. They're nice and fat too. They come in 2 diameters. There's a little bit thinner one. I think most people will like the fatter one. I think that is all the adds I've done to it. Some of the things I'm gonna do upcoming. The horn cover is gonna go. I'm looking at 2 options. Obviously, the more expensive way and the better way to go would be powder coat it. I'm thinking about trying several parts with Plasti Dip. I've done that in the past with some of my bikes. One of the things I like about it, if I don't like it, I peel it off. It's gone. So I want to do the horn cover. Levers I won't tangle with because it'll peel off of those pretty easily. I may do the bullets on the turn signals and definitely the ring around the headlight.